In today's lecture, we shall be discussing 10 things not to do when discussing a sensitive topic. Do not use abbreviations when discussing a sensitive topic. Using abbreviations when discussing a sensitive topic makes it much harder for the audience to understand the point that is being made. As well as making understanding difficult, abbreviations can in some cases be offensive. When discussing a sensitive topic, you must try and keep the level of offence to a minimum. If an audience is not offended, they're more pliable to be convinced. Using internet language when discussing a sensitive topic can make you seem insensitive, immature, and in some cases uneducated. It's important when discussing a sensitive topic that the speaker seems reasonable, well-educated, and well-intentioned. Using terms like based can, at best, make you difficult to understand, and also, at worst, alienate part of the audience. Instead of the term based, one should use the term sensible, logical, well-intentioned, so on and so forth. Having an erratic structure when giving a speech or discussing an issue in person on a one-on-one basis can make it very difficult for the listener to understand what the points are of a given speech or discussion, and perhaps worse, an erratic structure can cause anxiety and stress among the listener. This works in a similar way to a messy house. It's much easier to relax when your surroundings are tidy and uncluttered. The same applies to listeners when listening to a speech. If a speech is very well structured, it's a lot easier to listen to it and understand it. Whereas if a speech is erratic, it's much harder for the listener or the audience to process what is being said, and enjoy the speech and be convinced by what is being said. There's a time and a place to use satire. Discussing a sensitive topic isn't the time or the place to use satire. The problem with using satire is lots of people, for cultural reasons or age reasons, don't understand satire. And the problem with political satire is you need to know your audience very well for it to be effective. When discussing a sensitive topic, your audience is likely to be broad. So using satire risks alienating members of the audience. The problem with talking too loudly when making a speech is it can cause anxiety, it can cause stress among the audience. And as I've said previously, when discussing a sensitive topic, one should aim to keep the audience or listener as calm as possible. If the audience or the listener is calm, they're more likely to be receptive to the points being made. The same applies for talking too quickly. If you talk too quickly, you'll be difficult to understand, and the audience or listener is likely to be stressed, making them less receptive to the points being made. In general, I would suggest aiming to talk around 2 words a second. I'll do a video on pace and volume control exercises because this is something I teach clients, but in general, for now, practice talking at a reasonable pace. I would suggest 2 words a second. The problem with using terminology that has an emotional connotation or an emotional impact is if your audience is not familiar to you, it is likely that any emotional language will risk alienating members of the audience. So, as a general rule, when discussing a sensitive topic, keep emotional terminology or terminology that has an emotional connotation to a minimum. If one is discussing issues of ethnic replacement or other issues that may be controversial or offensive to some people, terms like white genocide should be avoided, and instead the speaker should aim to use terms such as ethnic replacement and terms that are generally less emotionally impactful. Don't swear. The problem with swearing when discussing a sensitive topic is it makes you seem stupid, poorly educated, and rude. This is something you should avoid at all costs. When discussing a sensitive topic, you should seem reasonable and well-intentioned. The problem with waffling is, as I've said before, it can make it very difficult for the audience to understand what is being said. If a speech has lots of irrelevant tangents, the audience are going to be less receptive to that kind of speech. Instead, when speaking publicly at all, regardless of the sensitivity of the topic, a speech should be well structured and have a clear introduction, a clear main body, and a clear conclusion. I shall do more videos on this topic at a later date. Engaging with the crowd, if the audience is known to you and the audience shares similar views to you, similar philosophy to you, engaging with the crowd can be productive. However, the issue with engaging with the crowd is it can disorientate the rest of the audience, and engaging with the crowd can risk making what is being said harder to understand. Generally, if you wish to engage with the crowd and you're giving a speech, it's best to wait until a Q&A or other appropriate time. Allowing someone to interrupt you with a joke or something can make it very hard for you to keep a consistent structure, which will make speaking difficult and make the audience understanding what is being said difficult. So, if you wish to engage with the crowd, please do so at an appropriate time.